Hey, everybody, how are you doing? Excited here to be hosting one of these cloud go-to-market sessions here with a bunch of experts from the industry. This is the channel and cloud movement, what it means for us, right? So we've got three experts on the panel joining me today. My name is Brian Denker. I'm one of the co-founders of Tackle. Been on this journey for quite a while, and it's just super exciting to see how much the channel and how many of these things have grown over the years. So it's really awesome to have some of these folks. And I'll let them go do a few quick introductions, then we'll get into it. So, Mike, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks, Brian. My name is Mike Peters from Optiv, where I'm the VP of Partners and Alliances, leading the strategic development and execution of our strategy around cloud marketplaces. Optiv is a cyber advisory and solutions leader, and we serve clients across the spectrum of cybersecurity domains and work with great partners like Palo Alto Networks, AWS, and Tackle to drive security outcomes around risk management, operational complexity, and financial considerations. So thanks for having me. Excited to be here and excited for a good conversation.
Cool. Whit?
Yeah, hey, Whit Crump with AWS Marketplace. I lead worldwide channels along with our customer-facing fieldwork across the commercial and public sector space. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And James?
Yes, James Beasley with Palo Alto Networks. I'm the Vice President of Cloud Engagement. I'm solely focused on Amazon Web Services. My team covers everything from marketplace integrations, marketplace operations, to co-sell to technical integrations with AWS services. And if you don't know about Palo Alto, we do cloud security, we do firewalls, software firewalls, and SOC operations. So happy to be a part of this board here, this panel.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Well, we're here for about 45 minutes. We'll chat through some stuff and get plenty of time to talk about things. But just to kind of kick it off, it is really cool. It's exciting to see how the channel has been part of the software sales process for so many years. And, I think at first it was a little tricky to figure it out. And AWS has really led the way with the channel and CPPO and some of the cool things coming out. It's been super exciting just to see how many more folks are leaning into that program and moving more and more. But as we think of, an ISV that is large in scale and has used resellers a ton, like yourself, James, over at Palo Alto Network, like how has your go-to-market journey been so far as it relates to Marketplace and the channel, right? And dealing with those folks and how have you navigated that growth over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so let's start off with just to the marketplace. It's such a great concept, and I think at first, and Whit and I have known each other for a while. We thought you just build it and they would come, and I would say for our VM series that's actually happened. But you still actually have to sell the product. We look at it in a lot of ways, and I don't know if this is an appropriate comparison, but it's a lot of like a credit card, and people really get hooked on the idea that, hey, wait, I can transact everything through this marketplace. It really streamlines the process or the purchasing process and the fulfillment process. So we grew rapidly. I like to brag here at Palo Alto that our AWS Marketplace transactions and our AWS Marketplace partnership is one of the fastest growing and now one of the single largest routes to market for us. So it's grown tremendously. We've come from a backwater, like who's this cloud guy? We think it's a fad, to now this is wholly, use your explicative, this thing's huge, what's going on here? Meantime, I think a lot of people prematurely thought that the channel was no longer relevant. And quite to the contrary, we've actually seen our channel growth through the CPPO program grow significantly. And I've joked with AWS, turns out when people buy your product and don't implement it, they don't renew it. So the channel has been very important to us to actually implement the products after they purchase them. Purchasing is just the first step in the customer's journey, right? There's actually implementation, running it, keeping it, maintaining it, and renewing it. And with our channel partners, that in our Next Wave program, one of the more successful channel programs, those Next Wave partners have come to love and embrace CPPO. And as a result, we see our average deal size increase by 30% when we involve a partner. Now, some customers, following the Amazon way, customers' choice, customer obsession, we let them choose their route to market. But we find that when they work with us and a partner, the deal sizes are actually 30% larger. So we've actually actively grown our CPPO engagements and run boot camps to actually attract people to the CPPO way of transacting.
Wow. Love the stats, man. It's so cool. Like hard line numbers that help help drive that stuff. It is super cool to be able to kind of come and share those. That's awesome. All right. So on the other side, Mike, from the channel side of things, right? I always like to say, ISVs and channel partners have a very special relationship. Sometimes people think like, why do they need channel partners? Why do channel partners need ISVs, and how do they work back together? And I would love to hear your take on like why it's so valuable that you both work together for the mutual benefit of the customer, really, and why the customer gets a better solution because of that.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. And echoing what James said, there's so many benefits to the AWS Marketplace. There are so many benefits for the client in terms of the purchasing motion. But for us at Optiv, what we always think about are the client outcomes. And so how are they actually activating, deploying, maturing their usage of technology to achieve the outcomes that they're actually after from the security perspective, from an operational perspective, from a financial perspective. And so where we kind of fit in the ecosystem is helping our ISV partners and our partners at AWS kind of expand their reach and the touch that is required for these clients to implement technology and achieve the outcomes they're looking for. In our journey, when you kind of scale back a little bit and look at where we have been with cloud marketplaces, we've really taken our historical model that we've had at Optiv, where we are client outcome focused, where we operate across security domains, and kind of map that over to a new route to market, where we're able to help clients kind of strategize and enjoy the benefits of marketplace as a transactional vehicle, but also a place where we can still provide a lot of value in terms of helping them to achieve their goals and become sticky customers, as James said, about the life cycle of a client and getting all the way from purchase to implementation to renewal. So.
Yeah, it is something that is so critical to seeing the customer succeed, which is really cool to kind of see that happen. So, all right, and kind of to tie it all together, Whit, the king of channel over there at AWS, which is awesome. So, what are some thoughts around just tactics and things that ISVs and channel partners can do as they start to tie this stuff together? I know you've got a couple programs, CPPO, you got SPPO, and how do they drive alignment? Maybe just talk through a few of those programs.
Yeah, and just to echo something that Mike said, right? I mean, one of the best things our partners can do when they're navigating just customers and then also the AWS landscape is having a really clear and different core expertise, who your target market is, and then what the customer outcome is that you're going to be able to address. Being able to articulate that really crisply goes a long way, just in terms of like general co-selling and as marketplace as a facilitator. But sort of bringing it together, like you were saying, is first off, from a customer perspective, we're a highly customer focused organization, and we always work back from that. And for our partners, it's knowing what are your customers' transformation goals. There's the analysts have been talking about like 75% of all of our mutual customers are undergoing some sort of digital transformation this year. It's an ongoing process. They're going to need a lot of help doing it because those are complex processes. And so being able to sit down with all the different personas that are at a customer, it's not just the business owner or the IT department. Are you talking to the C-level? Are you talking to legal, procurement, finance, InfoSec? These are all folks that are showing up at the table nowadays. And so being able to speak confidently to all those parties makes sense. But just sort of getting into the weeds on the tactical portion, CPPO or channel partner private offers is all about being able to negotiate. And then you have SPPO, solution provider private offers, which is it's already pre-negotiated terms, and it's great for high scale managed service providers, things of that nature. But from a general tactics perspective, it's kind of look at it in like three pillars. First off is operationally, Whether you're a really large hyperscaler or you're a smaller shop, investing in that operational excellence makes a huge difference. It's sort of the nucleus that ties all these transactions together. How do you make procurement through a marketplace kind of a new normal for your customer? Because customers are trying to transform themselves. They're trying to transform their supply chain. And at the heart of that is standardizing operations. From a sales perspective and a compensation front, compensation drives behavior of your sales team. Are you comp neutral? Are you addressing things like time to compensation with a marketplace handling disbursements? And that's what makes the sales teams tick at the end of the day. And then last but not least is bringing cloud and marketplaces together as your own programs, right? How are you going to market? Are you talking about marketplaces to your customers as a route to market? Do they understand the value propositions, and do your sellers understand the true value proposition? It's not just the customers asking for it, but do they understand, in their heart that that this can speed their time to market? And I'll touche James with another statistic. Using contract standardization, you cut negotiation times by 90%. So that's literally turning 4 to 6 weeks down to just a couple of days. And cost optimization isn't just about the dollar sign. It's timing as well.
Yeah, that is true. It's like aligning all those bits and pieces and having the structure to kind of be able to do it, right? It is cool. So going back, James, you have been doing this for quite a while, and you've been kind of leading the charge. And Palo is a pretty big organization as well. We all know that, right? It's a lot easier sometimes with these smaller companies, but where the channel really runs strong is in big companies that have been around for a long, long time, right? And so when you were kind of driving this whole, cloud market adoption, like how did you get over, some of the folks that are like, hey, I don't want to use channel, or I don't want to use channel plus the cloud together. Me and my channel buddy, they just want to work together. Like, what were some of the things that you kind of overcame when you were kind of building that whole go-to-market program and pulling the 3 pillars of the channel and the cloud and yourself together? And maybe some hints for some folks that are looking to do it.
Yeah. So when it comes to, first of all, you have to ask them, why don't you want to use the channel, right? So I'll be very frank and honest. If they're not providing value, they're not going to use the channel, right? So that usually is a corner case, really, too. When somebody says, they're not, what are they not doing for you? They're not doing enablement. They're not helping us sell. They're not helping with renewals. Tell me what they're not doing so that we can get them to do their role, right? We all need each other in this ecosystem. So that's one objection. The other objection you run into is, well, I can't transact through the marketplace with the channel. Because as well as WIT has done with CPPO, there's still some people, believe it or not, in this world who are not aware of it or don't know what it means, or they are aware of it, but they assume that it somehow impacts their margin or their top line. They view it as adversely impacting their financials, if I could summarize it that way. So then we work with them to explain how the whole process works. And by the way, it's not always organizational. It can be individual. It can be an individual saying, "Oh, I won't get paid if I go through CPPO." So we have to. There's still a lot of education that has to get involved. So I'm fortunate to have a large company, large team. We actually spend a lot of time educating not only our sellers on, hey, because look, the channel, our sellers and the channel sellers, they should know each other. If they don't know each other, then what are we doing? And so if one of them doesn't know, the other one doesn't know. So we spend a lot of time educating both our sellers and the channel sellers, our channel organization, on what CPPO means, not only from a operational tactical perspective, but from a revenue perspective as well. And once people understand that it doesn't really impact margins, that we're actually it's a vehicle. Again, I'm going to anchor on the Visa analogy. We're just using a credit card. Instead of paying cash, we're using a credit card. Doesn't change the price of the product. Doesn't change how it transacts, other than it's more efficient through the marketplace. It's faster through the marketplace. And we let AWS do all the, wiring the money to whoever gets paid. And by the way, I don't know, I don't have a stat on this, so I almost hate saying it, but I would assume that more times than not, when you transact through AWS, everybody gets paid. people rarely default on AWS. So Whit, you and I we actually need to analyze that. If we can find some market data that supports that when you go through CPPO, everybody gets paid versus, sometimes people delay payments. Sometimes they're a little short on cash. I don't know. But anyway, so back to your core question. It's a lot about education on what CPPO really is and what AWS Marketplace is, and dispelling the boogeyman and really showing them the value. And that goes, again, if you show them the value, then people want to transact that way. I get more often than not, and it's momentum and it's word of mouth. I get people transacting. I can't share the numbers, but we did a lot of revenue the last 2 days of our quarter. And it was because you enter a private offer, send it to the channel partner, boom, goes, accepted, done. Faster than shuffling paper or faxing. I don't know if anybody still faxes things around. So much faster. We couldn't have done this. And then the poor sales reps, they're trying to, 5 minutes before quarter closes, before bookings will accept it, they do it. They come back the next week and say, that was awesome. You know what? I'm going to do all my deals through CPPO. I'm going to do all my deals through the marketplace. That is the more common conversation that we have than any other. And once that happens, they tell their friends and so on and so on. So I don't know if that directly addresses the question, but that's been my experience over here.
Yeah. No, I mean, those are all great little nuggets. Sometimes it's just, you got to kind of push some of that forward. You got to make sure they're getting paid. You got to make it comp neutral or even comp positive in the beginning to get things moving. And I mean, pulling all that stuff together, and it's like success begets success, right? So you get a few folks that talk about it and said, oh man, that was super easy. I got it done. It was fast. And somebody else is like, oh, I should try that. I guess that wasn't that bad at all. So yeah, highlighting a few folks that have winning solutions and kind of internal case studies is huge too. So
Right.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I'll keep moving through the panel a little bit here. So Mike, folks that are thinking about getting, like, Optiv has obviously been a leader in this space. You came really early to market, and you guys are kind of killing it in that space. For other maybe smaller resellers that are thinking about it, I know we got folks that are kind of looking at Marketplace or even kind of partnering with ISVs. Like, what are some of the things that you had to kind of put in place that you had to think about when you were kind of getting the cloud go-to-market, channel efforts rolling, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of the points that James just mentioned apply here. When we think about operational capabilities and sort of potential trade-offs, I think we just need to be really clear on where there are advantages and kind of do the analysis and dispel where there may be perceived disadvantages to going through Marketplace. And I think, not everybody can spend a lot of their time kind of thinking about these things. That goes to enablement, going out to enable the sales field, understanding, where there may be some trepidation. You think about risk, you think about friction, anytime that there's a deal that we've been selected, with a partner and we're looking like we're heading to close, the last thing that any sales rep wants to do is add another component to it that may somehow throw it off kilter, right? And so that goes to one, like, let's talk to the advantages to the client. Let's talk to the advantages to the rep in terms of timing and payment and all those kind of things. And then another huge component is operational capability. So I like to think, in the channel, we have the best operations team in the business in terms of cloud marketplace transactions. We're always out front. We're always leading the way, influencing how those programs get put together, working with our ISV partners, working with AWS very closely, to make sure that when our clients and our reps and our deals are going through Marketplace, that they're as smooth as humanly possible. So I think those components are so really important to get started. And then one thing that James mentioned that I was going to echo, just as we got started and started to see some momentum in some different regions, we actually ran a national campaign where it was targeted toward the end of the year. And so obviously, end of year motivations, timing becomes really important, where a day or two or several days of slippage based on when things are signed, when things are actually booked, matter a whole lot for everybody involved from the top down. And once folks started to see the benefit of being able to really kind of pull in deals and execute efficiently toward the end of the period, then we have the same experience where folks come back and they're like, that was great. Why not just do it that way all the time?
Right. It is. I mean, somebody put in the chat, it's like, find the champions internally, and then they'll tell their friends, right? And friends tell friends, and then things kind of happen, which is huge, right? So what, flipping it a little bit to the more maybe earlier side. So obviously James and Mike and Palo and Optiv, like kings of the industry doing this stuff, they're talking about how they've done this and super succeeded. What about folks that are trying to just get going, right? It's a smaller ISV that loves to start a reseller channel. It's a smaller reseller that maybe is like, hey, how do I start to work more with the cloud? I haven't done it. So what's maybe some advice on navigating like the earlier days, or how to even get going with some of this channel motion? I think it's a bit voodoo and they get lost in acronyms and they're like, I don't even know where to start with this stuff.
Yeah. So if I'm an ISV, especially, someone who's just getting started, I would look at, at AWS Marketplace as, what are the advantages I'm going to gain? And it's not just about the transaction. Think about the things that we can do for you that you no longer have to do yourself. A lot of this billing, disbursements, things that James were talking about. But also a big part of what we do is how we educate our customers. It's the software world can be big and complicated. Don't believe me, go to Google and search for security software, right? Like it'll pull up a lot of results, right? So this discovery and enablement's a big part of it, and how Marketplace can be a tool for an ISV, but also just the whole customer supply chain, right? Like there are lots of bits and pieces around, you're standardizing your operations to sync up with the customers, how we can work together with customers on license optimization, cost optimization, giving them flexibility, so that they have more ability to plan for the future. And I mean, cost optimization isn't just about price, right? It's a lot of things. And also, if you're an ISV and also the channel partner, how are you creating a durable advantage for yourself, utilizing a marketplace, right? Risk assessment, working with customers to help them more quickly understand sort of your posture in the cloud and getting them comfortable with making the buy. And then also on the back end, being a strong part of their management and governance process. These are all things that we can help ISVs and resellers do that I don't think are always native to their processes. So it helps expand those conversations with customers. I was talking about the personas earlier, like having confidence in talking to all those parties.
Yeah. And Whit, just to kind of add on to that, one of the plays that, or themes that we are stressing in the market right now, which really applies to Marketplace, is technology rationalization. So we see our clients, it's reported that, up to 170 pieces of technology in the stack. It becomes a financial and operational burden that, that isn't really providing the outcomes we're looking for either. So when we're able to have a partner like Palo, and we're able to execute through the Marketplace and combine some of that as Palo goes from product to platform, and we're able to execute through the Marketplace to kind of consolidate some of the spend into AWS, then we're able to achieve both financial and operational outcomes. And we're actually likely able to, because of that, able to achieve better security outcomes for the client based on that transformation.
Yeah.
And so, as we think about kind of efficiency and where those kind of things work, like that's one of the themes that we've been stressing, and we've seen a lot of positive reaction out in the field.
Yeah. I mean, just migrations continue to pick up steam. And I spend a lot of time talking to huge customers. And I mean, I think I saw a stat, the average enterprise has over 1,000 pieces of software in their portfolio, and they're trying to decide what's going to make the trip, what's going to get replaced, and what's their shelfware. And I think utilizing, a tool like AWS Marketplace can really help you with that. And, for you guys, Mike, at Optiv, right? I mean, I know we spend a lot of time working with you on enablement and dovetailing those strategies together.
Yeah.
Super cool. Yeah, I mean, it does. It kind of leads to some of the cool stuff that people are putting together. Um, we've talked about kind of things that we're doing, things to kind of knock down obstacles, maybe in a bit of a more fun way. James, I'll throw it to you. Whit and Mike were chatting a little bit, but like, what are some of the things? And I'll probably throw this to you, Whit, too, because you got a lot of cool ideas coming. But James, what are some of the neat ideas and what are some of the things you're excited about over the next 12 months? Like, things are changing a little bit, right? Like, we talked about what you've done, how you've succeeded. So when you look at the next 12 months, what are some of the things in your plans and what are some of the things you're excited about over there at Palo as you're going forward?
How do I narrow? We only have a few minutes, right? How do I narrow it down? We don't have an hour, do we? So as it relates to the marketplace, I think one thing that's coming up that a few things that are coming up as far as marketplace goes. One is DSOR, and I'll let Whit try to explain that, because if I do it, I'm going to give some misinformation. But the idea that now, especially in the public sector, we can take advantage of some of the existing distributor relationships that are there. I mean, the distributors. Yeah. Everybody's got to change, right? By the way, it turns out cloud is disruptive. So if you thought that it wasn't going to disrupt you, welcome to this forum. But that means everybody has to change, right? It's not just the ISVs, it's not just the traditional channel resellers, it's also the distributors and everybody else. Our customers have to change the way they buy things. The customers have to change the way they procure and deploy. So that DSOR, back to the original question, DSOR I'm excited about. It allows us to leverage what we have extremely deep relationships with some of the distributors and the contracts and vehicles they hold with the public sector. Great, looking forward to that. Turns out some innovative Europeans are looking at a different way of doing enablement, and it directly relates to CPPO and one of the questions around boot camps. Hey, they know how to do enablement. They know how to do multi-language. Let's let them do that. The other one is around there's a lot of countries love to tax, and there's a lot of taxing issues that we run into as even we're just shipping electrons where there's no hardware, there's no software, there's not even pamphlets or instructions. It's all virtual. And despite that, some clever countries have figured out ways to tax that as well. So working with Amazon, I think we've found some ways where we can reduce the exposure and increase the value of the customers, which should be the ultimate goal, right? So looking forward to that happening as well. Hopefully I haven't let anything out that wasn't supposed to be public, or nobody from the federal government. The IRS is watching. But yeah, looking forward to that as well. And then the other one is, and I know Whit's working hard on this, so I'm going to put him on the spot a little bit, but the idea of being able to bundle services with our partners together in the product, and do a better job of that. So firewalls, I mean, the firewall team will cringe when I say that, but they're actually easy, right? Installing and setting up a firewall is pretty straightforward, but the alphabet soup of cloud security, it's not easy. And by the way, there's not in the world that can help us do that, but their customers need it. And so the idea of being able to bundle services together with our product and in one package to the customer, we're all talking a lot of code around customers are looking to optimize their costs and rationalize their costs. They don't want to be cheap. They don't want to cut costs. They want to get more value for what they're paying for. And being able to bundle the services together with the product and implement it and deploy it immediately, we're addressing a core customer need. And I know that with, again, purposely putting them on the spot, with the AWS Marketplace, they're addressing this, and I'm really looking forward. I'm going to say less than 12 months, hopefully in 6 months, before reInvent, we will have a way of working with our solution provider partners and bundling a solution together.
Yeah. Man, all kinds of goodies. Obviously just passed over to Whit. He teed you up with a softball there and a couple things. So yeah, what's some cool new stuff that you can talk about that gets people stoked?
I had to take some notes to James talking to keep up with everything to unpack in there. Yeah, so look, on the distribution front, we have, there's a push and a pull, right? We have large ISVs that want to go to market using their existing channels, and we're all about choice, and we want to enable those ISVs to be able to use their channels. And like distribution has been a big part of the channel world forever, and and that's something we're definitely working with right now. And And James mentioned the DSOR is kind of an ugly acronym for distribution seller of record, of how we're working with distributors and bringing that to market. And it's very early days right now. And so, we're working with design partners like James on that at Palo, how we bring that to market. From an internationalization standpoint is something I'm really excited about. Like we're doing a ton of really cool stuff in Latin America. To help our partners be able to expand down there, and just not just there, but all over the world. I think we've matured to a point where we're making some really strong strides there. Sorry, guys, my computer glitched for a second. Am I still here? All right.
Yeah, you're good.
My computer
all good, man. No worries.
All right. And then last on bundling, we're hearing this loud and clear, and we are definitely working on what a strong solution looks like in this space. I'd say packing a real technical bundle together is tricky, but definitely want to do it from a procurement standpoint. And so I'll turn this back on James, which is, I invite you to become a design partner with me as we do the classical manual build and then do the engineering on the back end. I will say one of the things I'm really excited about, though, going forward is as our channel business has matured, our engineering work around our channel business has matured, is just the variety of partners that are coming to work with us. We've always been working with traditional resellers, but now like SIs, services first companies, as we have a professional services marketplace, are bringing their strengths to bear with customers. And then like with GSIs specifically, I was talking about kind of the durable advantages of being full service. They are seeing the strength now of bringing resale and procurement management to their customers in conjunction with the services that they've always had. So it's just kind of amazing to see like those kinds of partners and managed service providers, distributors, to James's point, start to really integrate the marketplace motion. So we still have our best days and biggest growth ahead of us, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know, James, did I get all the notes? Were there any other?
I think so. And yes. And sorry if I, let some cats out of the bag on that one. But I do want to remind everybody too, we are so early in the process here. And I was reflecting as Whit was talking, like, man, he's gone from the days of trying to convince people that this marketplace thing is real, and introducing CPPO and people questioning it, to the now he's got ISV partners like me pushing him to do more. Hey, Whit, why aren't you doing more? He's like, wait a minute, I was out there evangelizing, trying to get people to use this, and now you want me to do more? Hold on. But yeah, it's we're still. I always tell my team, we're such early stages of this. I wish I could share the stats on the percentage of revenue for Palo Alto, but we are the single largest route to market with AWS, but it's still early stages. If we look at I liked how Andy Jassy, before he became Amazon CEO, he said, everybody used to say roughly 10% of the enterprise applications were already in the cloud. And then one day he comes out and says, actually only 3% are. And there's more to come. So as we talk about what's exciting and what's going on, we're only talking about 5% of the market, folks. There's a whole other 95% that's not even aware of this route to market, or this route to market, this wave procurement, this solution that's available to them. So hold on. I always tell my team, hold on.
Yeah, James, I'll just say, I sort of said flippantly about a design partner, but you guys and Optiv have been with us since day one of us building channel, right? And there's other partners too whose fingerprints are all over it. And so it is what we do together to bring a solution that works for everybody. It's not just us behind a closed door building. So, and I also see some of the comments about, I want to be a design partner in the chat. Hit me on LinkedIn, blow up my LinkedIn, ping me, I'll get you involved. I love the diverse points of views that are brought to the table. And I mean, we'll talk to partners, both on the ISV consulting partner side and customers who will come up with an idea. And afterwards we're like, God, it seems so obvious. We should have thought of that. Right. So everybody's welcome. Please reach out.
Yeah. That's good. I love the authenticity. Clearly, we've all been working on this stuff together and know each other, which is kind of fun, right? Cool. All right. Well, I'll wrap it up a little bit. One last question, maybe we'll see if there's some James, people want to hear about your boot camps a little bit or such. But Mike, what was I always think this is kind of interesting, right? Like we're all working in this stuff and now we're a little bit past the journey and we're working on optimizing things. But usually folks have, something in the back of their head where it's like, man, there was a moment, there was a deal that got done. There was something that happened. There was like kind of a win that was like the first thing that really validated like, holy cow, this is like real. Like this isn't just an experiment that we're playing with. I mean, like, with Optiv being, resellers kind of really coming to the forefront in the last couple of years in Marketplace, any moment that comes to mind or anything that got done that was just really cool that, you kind of move forward from?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. It's, I think rather than maybe one singular moment or there were some big deals along the way that obviously were celebrated. But I think when you think about the whole ecosystem coming along and the evolution of the desire to orient around client outcomes, to bring the right people to the table, including, our friends at AWS, our ISV partners like Palo, and our internal apparatus and that at Optiv that we use to go to market, and just how everyone's starting to coalesce around this is actually a way to achieve better outcomes for the client, and this is how we need to do it. So I think we started off the panel, a little bit ago. It was said, it wasn't always the channel wasn't always a part of it, right? It was why do we need the channel? And then the evolution from that to partners coming to us and saying specifically, we want to do these things through cloud and cloud marketplace. And we want you to help us reach that client base that can really use it. When we have AWS coming to us and asking us for input on some of their design efforts. Specifically, the bundling, which James, one you mentioned that I was most excited about, of product.
Serve, right? Yeah, totally.
So you start to see that evolution and that orientation, and then you start to really see where we're going to be able to reduce friction, add acceleration of migration to the cloud, of procurement through marketplace. That to James' point just a bit ago on the percentage of applications and workloads that are in the cloud, that's going to take off, and the whole ecosystem is going to be a part of it. So that's been really validating, and could kind of observe that as we went from just a little bit of a curiosity, maybe when I first started kind of getting involved a few years back, to this is the way.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So we're just a couple minutes away. I mean, there was some good kind of interesting stuff in the chats, and hopefully you get hit by a couple of things. James, any there was kind of a fun question out there about your boot camps. I love enablement stuff. I love talking about it. Maybe there's like a 2-minute blurb. Like how are you doing some of that enablement side? How are you doing those boot camps to bring some of your people along?
Yeah. So the idea of the boot camps was just initially was to enlist more of our next wave partners to transact through CPPO, right? There was a lot of questions about how you do it, how you enable. What it turned out though is opportunities actually arise out of those because we combined it with, hey, here's the Palo services, here's our Prisma Cloud, and the fact that we, from code to cloud, we have a solution. So we enabled the resellers. Here you go. Optiv has always been a part of these. And then, oh, by the way, you can transact it through CPPO, and then here's what CPPO means. So we brought everybody together. I'll tell you, 9 times out of 10, at least 5 or 6 new ISVs, or excuse me, 5 or 6 new channel partners signed up for CPPO. So Whit owes me a little bit of commission there. And then we would uncover.
Add that to my list.
Yeah,
things from James.
And then we would uncover 5 opportunities. I think I can't say the customer's name, but they're a fitness company in Southern Florida. That opportunity came up because the partner raised their hand and said, "Hey, by the way, based on what you just told me, my partner's looking for that solution. Oh, and by the way, this CPPL sounds good, and they sign up and go. And so that's how it's run. We run those in North America. We ran some in Australia. And at one point, there was a bunch of CPPO partners, and we asked them how many have actually done a transaction, and 2 raised their hand. The rest didn't even know how. So we stopped, and then we trained them how to do CPPO offers, and actually did a couple. So hey, do some business while you're doing enablement all in one. So we're trying to replicate those as much as possible. Turns out it's a lot of work to get a lot of people together, but they definitely work out. And by the way, Optiv, we're willing to do some Optiv only boot camps around, so we should look at that.
Anytime, James. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I'm humbled to hear James talk about this and training our partners. I just remember the early days when, pushing the big rock uphill every day, right? It's great. It's great relationships like this that kind of feed off of each other. So
yeah. I'll riff on that and say that we're pushing the rock up on the hill, and now if you're on the other side of the mountain and you're not ready, you're gonna get run over, right, by a falling rock. Yeah. So get on board, get on top of the rock, behind the rock, not in front of it.
Very true, very true. Awesome. All right, so we're gonna wrap up here. Give the next folks a minute or two to get on stage and get ready for the next great session. But man, Whit, James, Mike, thank you so much. Leaders in the industry, pioneering the way this channel stuff works. For the folks that are listening, reach out to them if you want some info, and just super exciting to have everybody here, and excited to do it more, and see you at reInvent. So
yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Y'all too. Bye bye.
Take care.